Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to our sixth online webinar. I'm super excited. We have a wonderful coach with us today. Jason, can you go to the first slide? Okay. So this is our sixth webinar, which is, do you know that we have one more?
Our brain.
Yeah.
One brain.
Jason, next slide, please. We have wonderful audience today, so many familiar faces. Thank you for registering and joining in today's session. I like to share one story here, which is, do you know the value of yourself? I'm sure many of you or most of you must have heard the story. There is a stone kept in home where the small boy is very curious to know, what is that stone? He asks his dad, Dad, why is the stone kept here? And dad tells his son, can you please take this stone and go to the grocery store nearby and ask them how much will they pay you for this? He goes to the store and the grocery owner tells him, I'll pay you 20 bucks. He comes back and tells this to his dad. His dad then asks him to go to a supermarket, the bigger one, the hypermarket. He does so, and he was told by the hypermarket guy that he will be paying him 200 bucks for this stone. He comes back happily and says, Dad, this is what the stone is valued for. Dad tells him thank you and asks him to go to the jewelry store and ask the value of the stone. He does so, and the jewelry shop guy asks him, where did you get this stone from? The son says, I had it in my home and my father has asked the value for this. The jewelry owner tells him, I don't know the value of this myself, but I can still pay you 200,000 for this. And the boy was amazed. Wow, what's this? One person tells 20 bucks, another one 200 bucks, and this guy 200,000. What's there in this? He happily goes back to his father, and as promised, he did not sell it. He has taken it back to his father and tells him the story. So the story tells us it's not necessary that everyone knows the value, be it a thing or be as a person. Whatever life may throw on us, whatever we go through doesn't make us. It's how we deal with it, how we come out of it, how we learn from it is what adds value. Yeah, so this is the motto of our group. We are here to network, to learn, and to share knowledge with each one of us. And you can do too as well. If you want to share your learnings, if you want to present here, do let us know. Definitely you will be in place of Coach Nisha anytime. These are our contact details. You can reach us on Facebook, LinkedIn, WhatsApp. You can message me, Jason, anytime, and we'll be happy to have you in the group. Next slide, please, Jason. Please follow the basic rules while we are on the webinar. I would request you all to be muted at all times. You may use the chat box for comments, for questions, or for your reactions. The session will be presented by Coach Nisha, and we'll have Q&A at the end of the session. Please feel free to take notes, screenshots as you may like. Thank you. That's all from my side. Jason, over to you.
Oh, that was a fantastic introduction for the group. And we are extremely privileged to have almost 41 people joining us live here in this group. And this is one of the biggest gathering which we have witnessed over the past 1 year. So a little bit more about this group, those who are new to this group. We have a WhatsApp group. We formed a simple networking and learning group based on a small get together which happened last 1 year before in one of the cafes in Buhaira Cornish or in Sharjah. And we decided that we would be focused more on educating people and learning and sharing the knowledge what we have, and also empower others to speak more. So this group is for empowering each other to speak well, to communicate well, and to make understand and to make others understand that there is potential within everybody. So I am also 100% of the view that each and everybody who has joined here in these 41 participants can speak, and they can speak loud, and they can speak more powerful. So I strongly recommend that you should share the knowledge. You should share the knowledge which is for free, what you have attained over a period of time. And I think this is a great opportunity to meet new people, new seniors. A lot of senior people are here in this group. A lot of juniors are there, and professionals people are there. All over the world, people have joined live. Almost now 43 people and counting now. So we have a special and a solid speaker today, Miss Nisha. As Mr. Sushma has already introduced her to this group, and I think the energy level would be pumping for Ms. Nisha to come and deliver the today's session. Over to you, Ms. Nisha. All the best to you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Can all of you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, yes.
Yes, Coach.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So wonderful to have 41 people from various places, and curious to know if we really have more than one brain or not. So yes, my name is Nisha Thomas. I'm here with almost 20 years of experience, both in India and the UAE, and now back in India for good. I'm trained in hypnosis, timeline therapy, NLP, and latest being embraining. And I'm also India's first MBIT trainer coach. So it's a lot of privilege for me to have 41 people take valuable time during a global pandemic. Listen to me. Thank you so much for your time. Jason, am I able to move? Yes, screens are not moving. Okay. So this is, embraining was formed from the wisdom of the ages, okay? There are esoteric teachings and practices from Enneagram, yoga, Taoism, and of course, various other spiritual traditions from Christianity, Judaism, even Islam. And all of them speak the power of three. So all of the big religions have addressed that when it comes to intelligences, we normally speak the congruence of three intelligences. This is the backbone and the research that has gone into the science of embraining. So I'm just giving you a little bit of know-how so that you know that this is not some hogwash. In fact, has a lot of scientific data. It's taken the founders about 8 years of research papers. They're published all across in most of the scientific journals. And hence how they came to the conclusion that we have more than one brain. Now, the neuroscience of today has determined that we have at least 3 neural networks of brains. Prior to that, in the 70s, there was NLP or neurolinguistics. That was based on all the behavioral models we had for coaching in the past. Then, of course, there is neurophysiology, which is also came from various functional disorders. So you have the ancient history and you have wisdom of now. So put these two together is how we then came to embraining. These will then answer all our doubts or how things have evolved for us. On the top left corner, you see Mr. Grant Susulu, and on the bottom left is Marvin Uta. They are the founders and the writers of this brilliant book, which has all given us, and me especially, a meaningful life. Embraining, using multiple brain to do cool stuff. I don't know if any of you have heard of this, or is this your first time, but there is a lot to learn. And I was privileged to be taught by the founder himself, Grant, in 2017. I did my coach certification in Dubai and then went on to become the coach trainer in Holland in 2017 as well. And it's very sad that later on in the year, Grant developed pancreatic cancer and has passed away since. However, there are almost more than 2,000 MBIT coaches across the world, and it's fast spreading. And that brings me to my purpose of being here and evangelizing MBIT across to everybody I know. So during a global pandemic, or even during deep stress, we have signs and symptoms of constant internal conflicts. How do we get to a balanced state quickly and easily? I would like you all to experience a guided process to explore your multiple intelligences. I would request all of you to take a few seconds and look at this picture carefully. And if any of you want to answer out loud and tell me what you think this picture indicates, it would be fantastic. So Jason, if anybody wants to speak up or has raised their hand, if you can just throw them in here.
Neural networks in stomach.
Good try. I presume that's SK's voice because I can't see you. Anybody else? Anybody else? I see something on chat. Synaptic connections, very close to it, Commander, but not exactly there.
The vagus
Neurons in the brain, says my brother Naveen Thomas. No, I love all these intelligent people going wrong.
Is it all the kinds of different connections that we have within the brain, probably, you know, small micro veins running through? Very close-up picture of it.
No, not really. So let me tell you, because this was the picture that actually got my attention with embraining, honestly. So this is the microfilm shot in our brain when there is a single thought that occurs. So let me repeat that. This is the microfilm of a thought when it occurs in our brain as it forms and then disseminates across our body to give different orders. Okay, so can you imagine right now in this room we have 50 people, and I can assure you 50 of us are thinking more than 50 things at the moment, right? Yes. And so this film is being multiplied in each of our brains as we sit here through this webinar. I don't know about you, but I was mind blown from this. I was like, wow. So every time I think, oh, what's for dinner? Oh, I've got to do my jhadu pocha. This is what's going on in my head. Awesome. So that then takes us to the next thing. So these thoughts are going through our body, giving instructions, deciding to do, not to do, making decisions. All of this happens from here. This is a very, very cartoon that I think you should follow, The Awkward Yeti. And he says, when I'm stressed, I beat faster, says the heart. And you can see the top, it says, I try to solve the problem, says the brain, and little comfort, food helps. So here we have already 3 brains being introduced to us. Okay? We have the heart, we have the brain, and when I say food, it's your gut. Are you with me? Any questions so far? Okay, so we move on. So then why do we need coaching? Has anybody considered why would we need coaching? Or does anybody think this is a complete waste of time?
It's a need to train.
It's a need. Okay. All right.
So, a guided approach.
A guided approach. Very good. Very good. I presume that's Sushma's voice because I can't see who's talking.
Yes, yes, it's me.
Okay. Yes, definitely. So
it is something to learn about it. Better than coaching, get learning into a new subject.
Okay. Is this Commander?
Why these?
Okay. All right. There's a request from a couple of people to stop all the comments. So if we can just refrain and hold your comments or questions for the end, it'll help us to keep us on track, if that's okay. Okay, all right, brilliant. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Why do we need coaching? So this is me here, confused in the middle of the world. And if I had a situation which I needed to reckon with, the old methodology would advise me to go into therapy. And what therapy normally does, and I'm not dissing psychology, I'm not dissing psychiatry in any of those fields, they're all fantastic in their place. The only thing is, it's very painful to go through therapy because they are going to take you into your past. And normally what happens is when you go into your past, you are going to visit a lot of painful, unhappy incidents and which have anchored themselves in your brain, your memory. And that, unfortunately, does not help you move forward. On the other hand, coaching, and I can see in this room we have some very highly qualified coaches who I learn from on a daily basis. And I can tell you what coaching does is it moves me forward in the direction of my goal. So instead of me walking in the past or living in what happened, it takes me from now to where I want to go. So then what is embraining? Embraining is a way for us to use our multiple brains, being the brain in your head, the brain in your heart, and the brain in your gut. It is the process of aligning and integrating these brains to get specific outcomes. MBIT, which is multiple brain integration technique, is a suite of having techniques to communicate, align, and harness your intelligence of all these 3 brains. It's about improving your life. So if any of us, it could be the smallest issue on a scale of 1 to 10, it could be just a 2, or it could be a 10 as well. Any of these issues, the beauty with embraining is we can reach the best decision if we have these tools or techniques, or if you have a coach like me to assist you through this process. So that's the poor little me, or any of you in the room who have current issues in their lives, or even places where they're just generally stuck. And every time we are in these places, we hear people tell us, use your head, where's the logic? Be true to your heart, follow your gut. And then there's a whole bunch of other people saying, Don't let your emotions ride your head. Follow your heart. Don't be impulsive. Or then you have, what's your gut response? What's your intuition say about this situation? What do you think you should do? And all of these things are constantly something that we hear. So imagine over the years, even if we did not know we had a head brain, a heart brain, or a gut brain, our language had already adapted to these intelligences. And I can assure you, I've done a little bit of research, even in other languages of India and other places, there are such indications of the different intelligences. So here we say all these things, and yet we have forgotten to tap into these intelligences to be able to take the best decisions of our lives. So I feel kind of cheated of it, that at least I'm lucky that I finally found this. So your multiple brains is your head brain, or your cephalic, or your creative brain. So every time you think of ideas, people who write a lot, people who paint, I see some army personnel here, all of the stuff, that big statistics, strategy, all of that is coming from your creative brain and your cephalic brain. I'm not getting into the brain in your head saying you have your right hemisphere, left hemisphere, and all of that. That's for another day, and it's far more complicated. But what embraining has discovered with research and a lot of scientific work is that the core competency, the prime function of your head brain is to be creative. Moving on to the heart brain, okay, or your cardiac brain. So other than your beautiful heart pumping blood and keeping all the organs vital with enough of blood in the body, the core function, the prime function of your heart is truly compassion. Okay. If we were to look at the gut brain, now, even though it's called the gut brain, please remember the gut starts all the way from your mouth to your exit point or your anus. All right. So that is your gut brain. That means it is the longest and it has a lot of different functionalities. I don't want to get into too many details. That would be done if you get into a code certification program with me. But yes, so the gut brain then is the enteric brain, or its prime function then being courage. If you take a seat back and think about the time, for example, if you were to do this seminar today, just like I had to do it, do you think I would have had butterflies in my stomach? And if so, where do you think those butterflies would be? Would it be in front of the stomach or behind the stomach? Any ideas?
Front.
Does anybody want to tell me on chat maybe? If you're muted, you can tell me on chat.
Front, maybe.
Okay, brilliant. And CDR, actually it's in the front, and your courage comes from behind. That's when you say jump into something, move forward. So it's something that pushes you from back to forward. So your fear stands in front and behind stands your courage. I hope I've answered that. Now, how do we then think about coaching these multiple brains? So obviously we all have various situations we're stuck in. We know we want to go there. We want to find out what is the new normal post-COVID, post the lockdown. Many of us have lost jobs, many of us have pay cuts, many of us have issues at home. Many of us are fighting for the Wi-Fi connection in a home where parents are working out and their children accessing their homework, their homeschooling. It could be the smallest or the biggest issues. And yet, every moment of our lives, we're constantly decision making. And for us to have that, we have to ensure that our brains are in coherent balance, and therefore it can reach an emerging outcome and finally head towards your goal. Does that make sense to you? Any comments at this stage, or we move on? Okay. So M-braining, or the M-bit roadmap as we call it, it's a very simple, very beautiful, and I think a much needed platform in this day and age. The first thing is to communicate, and then you reach, communication is basically knowing the three brains and that they can actually communicate to each other. So if you paid attention to a little child, an infant, the only way an infant could communicate to the world at large would be to cry. Because most likely at that stage, our most evolved brain was the gut brain. We felt hungry, we cried. Mommy fed us, we were happy. It was very simple. As we start growing and we're in society and there's conditioning and there's education and there are traditions and all of these brilliant, marvelous things, we are then told a lot of things. As a child, you never refrain from playing with somebody or going and making friends with an absolute random stranger. You're very open. And most parents are scared of their child and always tell them, no, don't do that. So imagine in that fearless state where you let to be your whole self, your entire being or life would have changed tremendously. However, we lose that brain too. And this is where the amazing thing of the 21st century called education comes in, and then comes our brilliant head brain. Almost 95% of our decisions taken are purely head-based decisions. We all have a pros and cons. We write down all the logical reasons of why we should do what we should do. And so then the head takes over the primary functions of the gut, which is your courage, the primary function of your heart, which is compassion, and then does everything with a pure creative sense of the word. So in M-braining, what we call that is, it's called a NIC, which is, I don't want to get into the technical terms. So basically one function, one brain is doing the prime function of another brain. It's like if you have a home and there's daddy, mommy, and two babies, every single decision in the house, how the money is made, how the money is saved, how the money is spent, is taken purely by daddy. So mommy and the babies don't have a role in it at all. M-bit, on the other hand, teaches you to get all the three brains to talk to each other, acknowledge each other, accept each other, and also know what the prime functions of each of your intelligences. And those intelligences then support in that decision making that you need. So like we spoke about a condition, say I'm out of a job today, which is a case with a lot of the people we know. How does that person then compassionately, courageously, and creatively find a way for them to move forward with their lives, to be economically viable and yet authentic to their true being? That's where M-bit comes into play. That's where it teaches you a communication congruence and reaching your highest expression and wisdom of how to make the best decisions of your life. So here the head brain says, I'm going to bed, wake me when the world is fixed. Heart says, sorry, the world needs you. So this is a typical thing of what we are all facing in the current situation. Something that none of us ever prepared for, to be stuck at home for 2 to 3 months, not having access to our normal life, what is then called normal, and now accepting that this is the normal, that this is the way we communicate, this is the way we'd have a heart-to-heart. I'm seeing a college mate of mine after almost 20 years through this webinar. So there you go. This is the new norm now. And so if we're in this situation, We are now telling the heart, sorry, the world needs you. Finally, we are acknowledging the place of compassion and how can we all activate our compassion. So ladies and gentlemen, that brings me to the end of my presentation. And I want to give this forum to each of you to then ask me whatever you'd like to ask me. And personally, thank you for your time. And I think Jason can monitor the questions and we will go with those.
Thanks a lot, Coach Nisha, for this wonderful session. It was great hearing from you. And now we will take the questions one by one. I think, Mr. Ishwar, you have raised your hand. You can go ahead, please.
Hi, Nisha. Thanks, Jason. Nisha, as you mentioned, yeah, anything which nowadays you can see a lot of people losing their jobs and everything. Okay. But this scenario is now becoming very common. Like, maybe 10 years ago or 5-6 years ago, you could find very rare moments. Like, you can find people working with a company for, say, 15 years, 10 years, or 20 years of service. But now, if you look at the turnaround ratios going up very fast, maybe I think you can find people who coming out with long service very rarely. Maybe out of 100, maybe 2% or 3% of people would be sticking on to a company for, say, 10 years or 15 years. So I think something which is emerging for the first time, or like this COVID kind of a situation, where you're not really prepared for the situation. I think that is what rattles for a person, because you're not prepared for the situation. But once you're used to it, or once you're prepared for the situation, I think the preparedness is more or less very, very important. And with these kind of sessions, I think this session is very, very helpful to create a lot of positive vibes and give a lot of hope, actually. So this gives a better understanding and creates a positive approach towards taking things. So I think the scenario will change gradually.
Okay, thank you, Ishwar. Was there a question attached to what you had to share?
No, I just would like to, like, how in these kind of situations can you comprehend more on the kind of, how it would actually impact your metabolism, or,
metabolism. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how would it actually impact the health, or how should we have to take care of?
Okay. So the beauty of embraining is it's not limited, unfortunately, only to COVID times. We have to always be aware of how we make our decisions. So if it be a situation, like I can hear a lot of angst in your voice, and all of the time that you were talking to me, you were accessing all your information purely from your head. Okay, so I can say that even your commenting is only from your head, and you constantly were looking to your top left corner, and that tells me clearly that your filing system is there, and you're just pulling down information and then sharing it with me, which is brilliant. We all do that all the time. However, when it comes to decision making, or in times of trouble or deep distress, we have to reach within, not only in our heads, but also our hearts and also our guts, because that's the only way we can move forward. Because our head will tell us all the problems that's there, but solutions, decisions, negotiations with how to move forward can happen only in congruence with all of the intelligence. So that's the way I would think that embraining would really help you to come to a little bit of a balanced state, because you don't make your best decisions in a sympathetic mode. You make your best decisions only in your parasympathetic mode. Okay?
Ms. Nisha, I have one question from CDR Ravi. Is there a dominance by any one of the three brains at times, or most of the times?
Oh, I love Commander Ravi. Go for it, eh? Putting me in a spot, yes. So what do you think would happen, Commander in the Navy? What kind of a decision do you think he would be often be led to be taking? There is always a dominance of one brain, and unfortunately, the head brain gets a very bad rap on this because our education, culture, all of this has taught us to look at everything logically. Take a piece of paper, write the pros, write the cons, figure out what you need to do, find a logical conclusion to this. You have an option of getting married to Lady A and Lady B. How do you decide? Don't ask your heart. Make a logical decision about that too. So you see, unfortunately, the head brain is taken a very bad place in our lives. It's brilliant. Believe you me, it has the most creative ways to come to solution. However, we've gotten the value of what your heart and gut can contribute to our lives. So, Commander, yes, brain often dominates.
I think he wants to speak, but he's not able to access the voice.
Yes, I have unmuted him.
Yes, but he's not able to speak.
Yes.
Anyway, let him unmute by himself. We will take him on the call, no problem. We will go to the next question. Would meditation help in this situation? It's from Kalyani Ranjoli.
Ms. Kalyani, absolutely, absolutely. One of the most beautiful things that we learn with Buddhism and Taoism and all of these things is that we don't go out looking for solutions, we look deep within. So imagine, I'll talk to you about the most stressful state that a person can be is when a lady is giving birth, right? We've all seen that situation. A doctor rushes in and tells her, breathe in, breathe out. So breathing basically brings you to a calm state. So even for her to physically push out a living baby from her adult body can only happen if she's in balanced breathing. And balanced breathing is something that was coined by Mr. Grant Susolu and Marvin Oka, the writers of this book, purely based on all of the research. 8 years of research papers went into modulating balanced breathing. So meditation is one form of it. However, what embraining teaches you is balanced breathing, and that would be provided only when you are in an embraining session with me. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kalyani. We have another question from Santana Gopalan. Therapy makes you think past and get into pain, whereas coaching is altogether different. Please throw light on this.
Okay, awesome. Who is the question from?
Mr. Santana Gopalan.
Santana. Okay,
Yeah,
Mr. Santana.
I'm from Chennai. I'm Santana Gopalan, behavioral trainer.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Lovely to meet you, sir.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Gopalan, therapy, as you know, would go back into, I do timeline therapy as well, which takes you into your past and lets you get rid of a lot of the baggage that we all carry. All of us have different issues. The only thing is the gradation of may vary.
Okay.
However, unfortunately, what coaching does is meets you at your point of need now, and then finds out where do you want to go. So if I was sitting with you, Mr. Gopalan, right now in our session, I would be asking you, what would you like to achieve from this session? I would be establishing a goal that you want to achieve, and then we would break it down in small, teeny, weeny bits and work our way through so that we can reach our goal.
Oh, okay.
However, therapy can cost you many, many years of laying on a couch and a lot of dollars.
Okay.
So coaching does not do that.
Okay. Thank you. Got it.
Most welcome.
Yeah.
We have next question from Karthik. Karthik, I have unmuted you. Can you please go ahead?
Yeah, why don't you read out my question? That's it. Yeah, okay. I am also a coach and I am with Krishna Nisha. So,
no worries, I can go ahead. So Karthik's question is there a connection between the brain and intuition? Any research studies you know about this?
Oh, Karthik, you have to come to my embraining coach training, don't you? Of course, there is a great lot of study that goes with intuition. And Karthik, I know you do a lot of yoga, don't you? Can you unmute, Karthik?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's one of the things that I do.
Yeah, it's one of the things you do. So where would you think intuition comes from, if I were to ask you?
Could be the heart, could be the gut.
Okay, you're somewhere there. No, your intuition largely comes from your gut. Okay, so let me give you an example, because a lot of the other people who are non-coaches on this forum, I don't want to leave them behind this. So imagine I have a phone in my hand and I'm trying to cross a busy street. Okay, I'm not paying attention. I'm a little bit, like a 20-year-old busy on my phone. I'm walking across, and yet suddenly my instinct says, hey, there's a car coming in. And right, just as I do that, a car whizzes past me. So I was literally saved by the bell. So in as much as my eyes were engaged on my telephone, at the same time, I immediately had an instinct to say that, wow, there's something. So my gut does courageously to actually protect me from something that's happening. I hope I've answered your question.
Still we are waiting. Any more questions?
Yeah, Nisha.
Yeah.
SK here. I'm speaking for behalf of Commander. Okay, first
Yes,
one, he says the Navy, the decision is made mostly from the gut. Okay, that's his statement. The second question which he wants to know is that, let us presume that the heart and the head are in congruence, but the gut says, I don't agree. What happens?
Okay. So, Commander, yes, I agree. When you're taking a strategic decision with regards to going onto the battlefield, it would be definitely a gutsy decision, because it has to take courage. Are you going to attack somebody, not attack somebody? Definitely, 100%, I agree. But I was talking about generally, other than not in the armed forces, we are largely a head-based society. Now, coming to the second question, if your head and your heart were in congruence and does not listen to your gut, what do you think will happen? Commander, your mic is not working. SK, do you want to take a shot at that, since you're also on the same level as him? So what happens is, just like I said, if it's a family of father, mother, and children, so here you're saying the father and mother agree and the children are not being included in this decision making. You're not going to have a happy family. So if I were to say, if you are taking a decision only from the head and the heart, you are then going to not make a good decision.
Yeah, I think Commander also is supposed to do the same thing. Maybe your health also gets spoiled because of that.
100%. Okay, let me give you a fantastic client study as well. Okay. I had a client of mine who was having a very successful business, okay, doing extremely well for himself. Jason, can you please mute the rest of them, please? A client who is extremely successful, however, not happy at all. People were coming in, he was getting clients, he was making money, but always looked unhappy. And what was happening is, if you looked at this person physically, now I'm talking about the physical implication this could have, right? His body was absolutely normal and only had a very huge belly. Now here's a pure vegetarian, non-alcoholic, teetotaler, has only 2 meals a day. What are the chances to get into that shape? Very little. We had only 3 sessions doing embraining with him, and we found out what the reason was. The reason was the business that he was doing, the 12 to 14 hours that he was working had nothing to do with his passion. This was a business that he was drawn into because of his parents. It's something that he inherited. Absolutely no heart in it. Had to do it because obviously what? economics. He has a wife and he has 2 kids. He has to take care of them. So he does what he needs to do, but is extremely unhappy doing what he does. So through embraining, we found out his passion actually was completely different, and that was music. And the way that he could find a common path to get to what he really wants to do was he couldn't chuck up the business. He kept the business, but he found time on his weekends. He told his family, Friday and Saturday is mine. I'm going to keep that special. That's only for me. That's for me to enjoy my music. The rest 5 days, I'll work, I'll do the business. And believe you me, within 3 months, he lost like 8-9 kilos of weight, now doing extremely well and very, very happy with the balance he's found in his life. And this was the same person who's done a lot of other techniques, diets and yogas and all of these things to get there. However, because he did not have the internal understanding of what was happening in his body, he was not able to get to that position. So yes, Commander is absolutely right. It can definitely have a physical implication on how you are.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, Shafaq has a question. Shafaq, I have unmuted you. Please go ahead.
Hi, Nisha. Thanks for wonderful insights on the brains and the power of brains. My question is in connection to the statements that you've mentioned earlier about intuition. So in intuition, I would want to ask, what about people who like deja vus or something that they feel has already happened, but it hasn't happened, but it happens a bit later. So it's more like they're getting some predictions or some sort of those.
What an intelligent question, Shafaq. I really appreciate asking that. The reason why I say that is you said, you know, they have a deja vu moment and they're not sure if it didn't happen. My question to you is, how do you know that it didn't happen?
So
because let me say
sometimes,
this, the reason why the gut, go ahead, sorry.
So sometimes I know a few people, and it has happened with me sometimes also, where I feel it's intuition, but exact same thing that we may have experienced, like, okay, so this is something that is happening, but it hasn't happened. But later on, after maybe few hours, few days, or few months, it happens. Like that same flow of events or same flow of those unfortunate events or something like that. So it happens.
Okay.
So then you remember, oh, we had a thought earlier about this thing, and it feels like it had happened already.
Absolutely, absolutely. Fantastic question. So Shafaq, coming back to the fact, how do we then decide that the head is a brain, the heart is a brain, the gut is a brain? The reason how they came to the definition and with the scientific knowledge that we have is because they not only remember, but they also record, and you have also recall from these organs. So that's how these are brains. So if your gut is giving you an instinct about something, don't think that it's only purely deja vu. It could have happened many years ago. It could have happened in your childhood. It's a simple instinct, like how when we know there's something hot sitting on the gas stove, you put your hand on it, what's going to happen? You're going to burn your hand. You know it already, right? How did you know that? Because there's somewhere in a memory, and touch and feel remembers again your gut brain. Okay? So obviously the moment you do that, you know, oops, hot, I'm going to take my hand off. So there is a memory in your gut. And that is what your instinct shows up in every situation, especially when danger is there. Because one of your main functions of your gut to do along with your subconscious is to protect you. So great question. Thank you for asking me that. I hope I've answered you successfully.
Yes, you have.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Any more questions? Anyone?
I see a lot of things on chat, but I have no idea where. I'm lost completely.
No, I'm looking into it, so it's fine.
Okay.
Everyone is commenting, wonderful session, insightful, the content and the relations to brain and all. Yes, it's great, Coach Nisha.
Thank you. Thank you.
One last question, if you allow me to ask.
Absolutely.
A question in regards to hypnosis, but not exactly to this session. So my question regarding to hypnosis, where you've mentioned that you do so you've done hypnosis, you've done those, right? So in regards to that, I have heard about sleep hypnosis.
Yes.
So is there something that has some connections with this also?
Absolutely. Okay, so something else that I do is also sleep talk consultant, and that's for children. We can talk about it another day for sure. But yes, sleep hypnosis is extremely effective, especially if you're dealing with certain deep-seated issues, which on a conscious level you can't take care of. So we can deal with those while the person is asleep. However, it takes a lot of patience because you're not going to have results in day 1, day 2. So it's going to be a long process, and whoever is going in for it would have to be prepared.
Wonderful.
Okay, any other questions?
Coach, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on how do we increase the speed? Does this coaching increase our speed, the effectiveness of how we think or how we act? Just a simple question.
I loved your question. You know why? Because all the while when you're asking me, you're doing this, and doing this. What do you think you're doing? So what you were doing right there is you're a very action-oriented person. I can say that already because your movements always determine that. And you're a very head-based person because you're still doing that, accessing information constantly, yeah? So the only way we can get better at this is, remember, we're all human beings. And that's why my email ID, my website, etc. is called that. But what we want is we don't want to be stuck at human being. We want to becoming. So we want to become human becomings because we are constantly evolving. And we use this sort of weird language in embraining a lot. And I didn't introduce that here because all of you are non-embrainers and would not be able to catch on. So to answer your question, what you need to start paying attention to, Shushma, is every time you say something, do something, ask yourself, are you thinking it? Are you feeling it? Or are you acting upon it? That should give you a clear indication of where you're coming from. And if it's purely driven by one, take a step back and see if that's the best decision for you.
Thank you, Coach.
Welcome. Any other questions?
Nisha, one last thing. Is there any limitations for embraining?
Absolutely nothing. I've embrained myself from the biggest decision of my life to move back to India. I've embrained myself to the smallest decision if I should buy something or not. So absolutely no limitations.
That being the case, you're talking about sleep hypnosis, deep-rooted issues. Can that be handled by embraining?
No. Hypnosis and embraining have nothing to do one with the other.
No, I'm not getting into hypnosis. I'm talking of that problem alone.
Yeah.
Deep-seated issue. Can that be handled by coaching through embraining?
Yes, it can. You don't need to. That's why, so even though I've done NLP, timeline therapy, and hypnosis, I practice it every once in a while if I get a very complicated client or the situation then demands it. But almost 90% of the time, I always apply embraining tools.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yes.
My name is Subin Das.
Okay.
Yeah, you talked about passion before. Actually, I asked a question in chat, but no one. So
sorry about that, Subin Das. Please go ahead. Tell me your question.
Okay, fine. Actually, I think it's an out-of-box question. I don't know how much late it is. I'm
please
30.
go ahead.
No, late in the sense, in my sense. I'm 30 right now.
Okay.
And till now, I didn't find my passion in it. Like you told a guy who is very successful in his business, but he's not doing his passion. So right now, what's the problem now? Till now, I didn't find my passion, so I'm doing some random things and
very unhappy at it.
Yeah, very unhappy in it. That's
okay.
the thing.
All right. So
right
you
now,
want to find out what your passion is.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Okay, meet me later for a one-on-one. We'll take care of that.
Sure. Actually,
Okay,
that's why I said it's an out of box question.
Okay. No, it's not. Every question is the best question. Believe you me. If we don't ask it, it's the worst question.
Okay, fine. Thanks, anyways.
No worries. Sushma, are we at the end of our session?
Yes. Anyone has any question, please?
How can I contact you?
We will discuss that just now.
Hello.
We will discuss that just now, Sabindas.
Okay, fine. Thanks.
I think we can
wrap up.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time, valuable time, especially in these lockdown era, where every minute when we sit in the house has to be very, very productive. So I really am obliged and very, very graciously thank you for your time. And as a gesture from my behalf to Shushma and Jason and towards networking and learning, any of you out there who are faced with any of life challenges or situations and need some assistance, I'm offering you 3 hours of MBIT coaching, personal one-to-one. Anytime you can reach out to me. My contact details are here and also available on networking and learning. So please reach out. These are times where we should support each other, be compassionate about our situation. So I'm offering you up to 3 hours of personal coaching with me for whatever you need. So Shafaq, Sabindas, if there is something that concerns you and would like to reach out, here's my free offer to you, okay?
Thanks, Coach Nisha.
Oh, that was amazing, Coach Nisha. Thank you.
Most welcome, most welcome. And thank you so much for inviting me. You both have been absolutely splendid.
Thank you.
Thanks for receiving our invitation. Thanks for joining in. Thanks a lot. It means a lot for the group.
Thank you, all the joiners.
Thank you. Thank you, Nisha.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a great day. And thank you, Sushma, for arranging this.
Thank you.
Those who have not connected with us still, our group is known as the Learning and Networking Group. Just do connect with us. If anything, you have more information from your side, just do WhatsApp me 050-606-3646. We will be posting webinars, similar kind of stuff. Just do connect with us. Thanks a lot for coming, everybody.